Now, I have played quite a few zombie games with lots of combined hours between them, and I'm something of a zombie media enthusiast myself, so when I heard about SurrounDead, I have to say I was skeptical about a game that looks the way it does. So I started watching some trailers and videos from other creators that really seemed to hype up this $12 game made by a solo developer with nothing but a low poly asset pack. I still felt apprehensive, but I finally gave in and purchased the game so I could see what all the fuss was about. And you know what? They were right. This game absolutely nails it. So in this video, I want to talk about exactly what to expect with SurrounDead. We'll dive into some of the features that make it stand out using my own personal experience in game to provide some examples. First though, I want to cover the main barrier to entry that I think a lot of potential players, myself included, might struggle to look past and may even prevent them from purchasing the game entirely. Now, to address the elephant in the room here, the low poly models in SurrounDead leave a bit to be desired and come from a purchasable, pre-made 3D asset pack provided by Cinti. These asset packs have been used across a variety of indie games by this point, especially the zombie-centric ones, including The Walking Trade, Dead Poly, and Another Try, to name just a few. Understandably, I think some people struggle to get past these simple graphics, and instead of seeing it as highly stylized or a creative direction, instead it is viewed as low effort or some kind of cheap cop-out. The reason I bring this up is because I'll admit I prefer when games don't use these asset packs and instead spend the time, effort, and funds necessary to make attempts at their own style. But in this case, there is something to be said for the fact that SurrounDead was made by a single person, and using Cinti assets has allowed them to focus on what really matters most to a zombie survival game, that being exploration, meaningful progression, and a highly customizable, replayable experience. Now, to expand on how SurrounDead achieves those things despite its relatively simple appearance, I'd like to tell you a bit more about what you can expect, starting with several features that revolve around the world itself. Firstly, SurrounDead has a fully functional weather system that will take you through everything from a pleasant summer's day to a heavy thunderstorm accompanied by lightning strikes or an ice-cold blizzard that leaves the landscape entirely changed thereafter. This is matched with some lighting effects that do an incredible job of not only communicating the time of day, but also immersing you in your surroundings, whether that's emerging from your chosen safe house to a sunrise that signals a promising new day, or cautiously exploring a dangerous locale with only moonlight and the glowing red eyes of the infected to light your way. You will spawn in at one of a selection of randomly chosen spawn locations, likely along the roadside or nearby to a small cluster of buildings. These locations serve as an opportunity to get some basic supplies and gear up in advance of taking on a larger point of interest, which is where the world design really comes into its own. I don't want to spoil things here by giving too many direct examples of this because, believe me, there are a lot of them, but the footage you're seeing now provides a good idea of the quality you can expect when exploring this post-apocalypse world. It speaks volumes that the sole developer of SurrounDead has managed to achieve this level of quality when it comes to the player's surroundings and immersing them in their environment despite the limited tools available to do so. In my own time spent with the game, I realized that whenever I decided to check out a new point of interest, I was genuinely looking forward to it because I knew I would find something interesting. What I wasn't expecting though was scripted events that actively changed the encounters I would have at some of these same locations. Let me explain. There is an observatory high on a hill that is ordinarily populated with a whole bunch of infected and a single boss zombie, which many of the larger points of interest are guarded by and tend to drop high-end items alongside the high-quality loot crate that can be found within the point of interest. Elsewhere on the map, I found a military convoy, a dynamic event that can appear at several locations out in the world. Upon successfully clearing the convoy of enemy presence, I found a radio that was relaying a message to an unknown military group, instructing them to fall back to an observation point. I suspected that this may, in some way, include the observatory itself, so I decided to check it out, and this time there was more than just the undead waiting for me. On the hilltops neighboring the observatory were a handful of sniper nests, each occupied by heavily armed human enemies. I will be honest here and say this took me completely off guard. It wasn't something I was expecting from this type of game, but it was a pleasant surprise to know that each time I encountered a message left by a former survivor or a radio like this one, there was a chance that this would actively change the way my run would play out. This very simple feature, in my opinion, helps to build a living, breathing world when matched up with the top-tier world design, weather systems, and immersive lighting that we looked at previously. Now, I mentioned hostile human NPCs in that last section, and that's something else about this game that I find myself really appreciating. Each encounter could go differently based on who or what I bumped into. The hostiles I stumbled upon at the observatory are a highly equipped military group of some kind, but there's also regular bandits too, and human boss enemies that will give you a good run for your money, even on a good day. If you don't actually use cover and make your shots count, it's quite easy for them to outflank you or overwhelm you in a firefight, especially with the higher tier mercenaries that know how to maneuver and handle a weapon far more effectively than your common bandits. Not everyone is going to be hostile though. You'll find friendly survivors that will be more than happy to let you use their camps to craft supplies or cook some fresh food, and there's wandering traders that will sell some more exotic goods if you're able to find them. There's even a safe zone which you can visit to trade with several vendors for a variety of items, and perhaps most crucial of all, you can stop to pet the dog. While there's no quests or missions in SurrounDead just yet, I noticed what looked to be a message board of some kind at the safe zone itself, and when I checked the development roadmap prior to making this video, sure enough, this is something the developer wants to add to the game in a future update. Outside of human enemies, because of course this is a zombie game, the infected aren't just going to be your standard Romero-style shamblers, although they are pretty brainless and easy to manipulate at the best of times. You'll come across sprinters that break free of the pack to chase you down, exploding zombies that threaten a quick death if you don't dispatch them with a well-placed headshot, irradiated zombies in high toxicity areas that will be much tougher to take down, and of course the aforementioned boss zombies protecting endgame loot. I can appreciate the true version of a zombie as much as the next person. Something about a slow-moving mass of corpses is absolutely terrifying, of course, but in this instance, having a variety of threats to deal with keeps you on your toes while you're scavenging for supplies. There are of course a few more zombie types that I haven't mentioned because it is a fairly long list, but it's very reminiscent of games like State of Decay, for example, where different types of infected in an area really make you stop and think about how you should approach a given situation based on the threat in front of you. And if all that wasn't enough, there are bears and wolf packs to contend with too, although they do offer a fantastic opportunity to stock up on meat for a while and gather some trophies to sell at the local safe zone. Non-hostile wildlife exists in the form of deer, which can be hunted for the same resources. Now, I am a big fan of Project Zomboid, that much will be obvious to my regular viewers. I've been covering it for a number of years now, and I can confidently say one of the largest reasons I've been able to play it for so long is the level of customization you can apply to match your individual tastes. And that all starts with these sandbox options that allow you to change zombie behavior, loot levels, and the world around you. Thankfully, SurrounDead has clearly taken a page from the Zomboid book and offers a very similar range of options that allow you to change everything from the abundance of items you'll find when looting to the strength, speed, and number of zombies at each point of interest. Now, I thoroughly enjoyed my first experience with this game, which by the way you can watch over on my second channel if you're interested in some raw, unfiltered gameplay, but I did find that there was far too much loot laying around and I was getting geared up in practically no time at all. Although some players may have reveled at the opportunity to gear up quickly and start blowing away infected, it wasn't really the hardcore survival experience that I go looking for in my zombie games. So I reduced the loot levels a little bit and increased the difficulty in some areas too. All of a sudden, I was playing a very different game that felt like a real challenge rather than a quick loot and shoot scenario. I find myself pleasantly surprised yet again that the developer has stopped to think for a moment and realized that their vision may not be right for everyone and has taken measures to put the control back into the player's hands. Now, there's one last thing that I wanted to talk about before I get into where this game has room for improvement and their future development plans. A cornerstone of any zombie survival game is a place to call home. home, a safe house or headquarters that you either build or refurbish to your specific needs. In SurrounDead, both options are available, and there's clear indication that the developer has left room for both approaches in their world design. On the one hand, there is a modular building system that allows you to place walls, floors, and doors yourself to create the ultimate post-apocalypse outpost. And on the other, there is the option of setting up camp in the wilderness or taking over an existing structure, with some unique locations like this bunker I found, which has been left completely untouched to allow for the player to make it their own. Almost any structure in the world would work, really, but to see that the developer has specifically picked locations like these to leave available for construction work really shows how well they understand the needs of survival game enjoyers like myself. There's a range of different crafting benches too, each with their own purpose and each with their own set of resources that you'll need to gather in order to construct them. This results in some progression-based goals to shoot for, alongside clearing points of interest and acquiring better gear, which is actually one of the things I found myself enjoying most about SurrounDead. I always felt there was something else for me to do that would further my progress towards the targets that I set myself. It's an open sandbox, sure, but it doesn't fall into the trap of being an empty, soulless experience hidden behind that thin veil of creating your own story, as other games in the genre have said in the past. Now, SurrounDead is not without fault or room for improvement. It's an entirely solo experience right now that I feel could be majorly enhanced by the ability to play alongside a friend. I'm not sure this game is a great setting for large-scale multiplayer, but being able to take on tougher threats with an ally certainly sounds good to me. It's worth me mentioning that this is on the roadmap, and I would hope it's a big priority too, because I really do feel like this would elevate the game to a whole new level. I know I mentioned this earlier, but there's also the fact that there's no real questing or missions as it stands, and again, this is planned for later down the line, but who knows how long that's going to take. There's also some work that needs to be done with regards to the behavior of zombies and wildlife. Even bosses struggle to handle the player switching elevations quickly, and as such are easily manipulated into running back and forth, never actually reaching the player that's dancing around them. Animals don't so much flee away from you as they sort of run aimlessly, sometimes directly past you. This, coupled with some recurring bugs around wolves that cause them to get stuck inside each other, means that hunting is left feeling a little bit lackluster at this moment in time. That said, these are just about all of the areas that I can think of that I would like to see improved or implemented, and it's important for me to remind myself that this game is sold at about the same price as a quarter-pounder meal, so to only have these couple of gripes, I'd say, is pretty good going. Overall, SurrounDead offers a survival experience that surprises and intrigues time and time again for a very affordable price point, so long as you can look past the simple graphic style and don't mind playing solo for the time being. If those two things don't particularly bother you, this is without a doubt one of the best zombie games available on Steam right now, and a fantastic example of how focusing on core mechanics, customization, and replayability can trump just about everything else, even if you're using a low-poly asset pack to bring it all together. SurrounDead, I cannot wait to see where you go next, and yet I don't feel there's even a little bit of a chance that I'll lose interest until then. Thanks for watching, folks, and if you want to see more SurrounDead stuff, I've got uninterrupted gameplay on my second channel, and if there's enough interest, I can almost definitely do some more videos here too. I will see you all in the next one.